Namaste children, welcome back again to this virtual class. So in today's episode we will be learning a new chapter, that is periodic classification of elements. Now when we talk about elements, they are classified broadly into two categories. They are metals and non-metals. About that you have already studied, it is the previous chapter. The metals and non-metals are categorized on the basis of physical and chemical properties. We know that when we talk about metals, they are solid in nature at a room temperature. The only metal which exists liquid in state is mercury, right? So likewise in when we talk about non-metals, non-metals are mostly solid or gaseous in state. The only non-metal which exists in liquid state is bromine. So some of the exceptional characteristics about that we have studied in the chapter metals and non-metals. Now the question is, we have metals and non-metals, and on the basis of physical and chemical properties we can easily classify the elements, right? Now what is the need to classify all these elements? Very important. Now dear students, I have a paper, and you know that this is a single paper and some image is there, right? Now if I tear this paper into two halves, then it is very easy for you to once again join it. If I tear into four pieces, even at this stage also you will find it very easy to join. If I keep on dividing these papers, now if I give these pieces to join to make the image, how do you feel? Will you feel easy to join these papers? It is very difficult, right? Joining these papers together to make the original picture is very difficult, right? Such a condition we call it as a chaotic condition or confusion. Our brain will not work properly to join all these things. So such a complicated situation we call it as chaotic situation. You are much familiar with the shopping in supermarkets and all, right? When you go to shop, there you will find all the categories are grouped together. For example, biscuit items, different types of biscuits are stacked together, right? So that when you go to the shop, then you will find it very easy to get the things according to the category and the type of materials. They are grouped together and put in one place, right? So if the things are grouped, then it is very easy for us to select or to get the things easily. So from all these experiences, it is very much clear that if the things are grouped according to the uses, according to their properties, according to the category, then it is very easy for us to choose or to learn about the things. Similarly, the metals and non-metals or the elements are exist in the nature. To know, to learn about the metals, about their properties, about their characteristics, these elements need to be classified. So only classification of elements is so important. The first scientist who came forward to classify elements on the basis of certain characteristics was Johann Wolfgang Dobreiner. He introduced Dobreiner's triad. He could introduce three triads, namely Dobreiner's triad, how the characteristics of or the, how he classified the elements on the basis of his triads. About that we will see.
Dobreiner's first triad contained elements lithium, sodium and potassium. If you see the atomic masses, lithium has atomic mass 6.9, sodium has atomic mass of 23, then potassium has atomic mass of 39. Now according to Dobreiner's triad, the mean atomic mass of first and the third element will be approximately equal to the atomic mass of the central element. So let us find out mean atomic mass of lithium and potassium. So that will be, we have to add the atomic mass of lithium and potassium. So we will get 954, right? Here 45.9, which is approximately equal to 46 we can take, right? So here 46 mean atomic mass means divided by 2. Here we have two elements, so dividing it by 2 we will get the mean atomic mass. So 2 we are getting here 23, right? So this is the atomic mass of the central element, that is sodium. So this is how he explained.
So when we talk about Dobreiner's triad, in his triad, each triad has three elements, and the similarity is the mean atomic mass of first and the third element is approximately equal to the atomic mass of central element. So this is what Dobryner's triad is. Dear students, although Dobryner was successful in classifying elements on the basis of triads, but he could find only 3 triads, and the characteristics what he proposed, that is the mean atomic mass of first and third element is approximately equal to the central element. This was not applicable for higher elements. The Dobryner's triad was considered to be a failure one. So this is one of the most important drawback of Dobryner's triad. Since Dobryner could find only 3 triads, and later on it was found that more and more elements were discovered, and those elements would not fit into his triads. That means the principle what he followed, that is the mean atomic mass of first and third element is approximately equal to the central element, right? So this was not happened with other elements which was later on discovered. So ultimately the triad what he proposed was not useful. The attempts made by Dobryner encouraged other scientists to come up with a new way to classify elements, so that the drawback of Dobryner's triad could be eliminated. So in that way, the second scientist who came forward to classify elements was Newland. He started arranging elements from hydrogen. When he arranged elements in increasing order, he found that after arranging 7 elements, the 8th element resembled the properties of the first element. So he found that after arranging every 7 elements, he got the 8th element, the properties of the first element and the 8th element was somewhat similar. So this way he started arranging, he classified the elements on the basis of increasing order of atomic mass.
He compared this to the octaves found in music. In musical notes, we know that sa, re, ga, ma, pa, dha, ni, and after ni, sa once again comes, right? So here you see very well first element, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh. So here 7 notes are there. After 7 notes, once again the first note, that is sa, comes, right? Newland compared the properties of elements with that of the musical notes which you can see in keyboards and all. So he called it as the law of octaves. Here law of octave means after arranging 7 elements, the property of 8th element gets repeated. So only he named it as law of octaves. Here octave means 8 elements.
When he arranged 7 elements, the 8th element and the first element resemble their properties. So he placed the 8th element below the first element. So this way he started arranging elements or classifying elements, right? So this is what Newland's law of octave. Although he was successful in classifying elements on the basis of the laws of octave, but there are certain drawbacks. What are those drawbacks? About that we will see. The first drawback of Newland law of octave was it was applicable only up to calcium. Beyond calcium, the properties was not repeated. So repetition of properties he did not find when the elements are arranged after calcium, though. So this is one of the drawback. The second drawback was he strongly believed that in the nature only 56 elements are existing, but later on it was found that more and more elements was discovered, right? So those elements could not be accommodated in his classification of elements or in his table of classification. So this was the second drawback of Newland's law of octave. And the third one is,
in order to fit elements into his table, Newland suggested 2 elements in the same slot. But also some places you can see some unlike elements under the same note. You can see on the screen that cobalt and nickel are in the same slot, and these are placed in the same column as fluorine, chlorine and bromine, which have different properties than these elements. And also iron, which resembles cobalt and nickel in properties, has been placed far away from these elements.
So the Newland's law of octave worked well for lighter elements, that is the elements up to calcium. followed by Dobrynin and Newland. Another scientist, a Russian scientist called Dmitry Ivanovich Mendeleev, proposed his table, his periodic table, in which the elements are classified on the basis of increasing order of atomic masses, and he observed that when the elements are arranged in increasing order of atomic masses, then after arranging certain elements, property got repeated. So he found that the elements are periodic in function of their atomic masses. So the Mendeleev periodic table was based on Mendeleev periodic law. According to Mendeleev periodic law, the properties of elements are periodic in function of their atomic masses, which means when the elements are arranged in increasing order of atomic masses, after arranging certain elements, then properties of other elements get repeated. This repetition of properties of elements, he named it as a periodic function. He classified the elements in his table, so this he named it as Mendeleev periodic table. Now let us see what are the various achievements of Mendeleev periodic table. While arranging elements in his periodic table, he got some instances in which he had to arrange elements with slightly greater atomic masses first and followed by some lower atomic masses. The sequence was inverted so that elements with similar properties could be grouped together. For example, cobalt atomic mass, you can see 58.9, appeared before nickel, that is atomic mass 58.7. The second achievement of Mendeleev periodic table is he left some gap in his periodic table, and he looked these gaps not as a defect. He strongly believed that in later periods some elements would be discovered, and those elements will have properties which can be accommodated in his table. He predicted existence of the elements in the nature which, when discovered in the later period, will have the properties similar to what he predicted, and he named with the Sanskrit numeral, that is Eka, which means 1. So the elements, the gap of the element below the boron will be Eka boron, and below aluminum Eka aluminum, and below silicon Eka silicon. And in the later period, the elements were discovered. Later on, scandium, gallium, germanium were discovered, which possess the property what he predicted well before the discovery of these elements. The elements Eka boron, Eka aluminum, Eka silicon were later on replaced by scandium, gallium and germanium, and the properties of these elements were very much similar to what the Mendeleev predicted well before the discovery of these elements. This is one of the major achievement of Mendeleev periodic table. The third and most important achievement of Mendeleev periodic table.
Noble gases like helium, neon, argon have been mentioned in many a context, but they were not discovered when the Mendeleev periodic table was constructed. These gases were discovered very late because they are very inert. So their availability in the atmosphere is in very low concentration. One of the strength of Mendeleev periodic table was that when these gases were discovered, they could be placed in a new group without disturbing the existing order.
Dear students, although Mendeleev was successful in classifying elements on the basis of increasing order of atomic masses or Mendeleev periodic law, but there were some drawbacks on which the Mendeleev periodic law was no more acceptable or useful for classifying elements. Let us see what are the drawbacks of Mendeleev periodic table. The first drawback of Mendeleev periodic table was he could not find a proper place for hydrogen, since
electronic configuration of hydrogen resembles that of alkali metals. Like alkali metals, hydrogen combines with halogen, oxygen and sulfur to form compounds having similar formula. On the other hand, just like halogens, hydrogen also exists as diatomic molecules, and it combines with metals and non-metals to form covalent compounds.
Here some properties are not matching, so where will be the position of hydrogen? So Mendeleev could not give a valid explanation for the position of hydrogen in his periodic tables. The second drawback of Mendeleev periodic table was later on, long after the Mendeleev periodic table, isotopes were found out. Isotopes are those species which have same atomic number but different mass number. And in Mendeleev periodic table, the elements are arranged in increasing order of atomic masses. If you see two elements, there will be much difference in atomic masses. There can have more than two elements between two elements, right? It was found that the isotopic forms of carbon, chlorine, nitrogen and hydrogen also existed in the nature, but he could not find a place to adjust the isotopes of elements. So this was one of the major drawback of Mendeleev periodic table. Another problem what he faced was the atomic masses are not increasing in a regular manner when you move from one element to another element. So which reveals that there can be more than two or three elements can exist between these two elements. If later on elements were discovered with different masses, where will be the elements be placed in his periodic table? So this could be one of the major drawback of Mendeleev periodic table. So on the basis of drawbacks of Mendeleev periodic table, the table could not be useful. So in order to find a new way of arranging elements, Henry Moseley found that instead of atomic masses, here atomic number is more fundamental property on which the elements could be arranged, and he found that when the elements are arranged in increasing order of atomic number, properties of elements get repeated. So he found that the elements are periodic in function of their atomic number. So this he named it as modern periodic law. So according to modern periodic law, when the elements are arranged in increasing order of atomic number, then properties of the elements get repeated. On the basis of this, Henry Moseley predicted a table, or he found a table in which the elements could be arranged, and still today we are following modern periodic table, overcoming the drawbacks of Mendeleev periodic table. Now let us see what are the achievements of modern periodic table. So now look at the picture here, the modern periodic table in which the elements are arranged. In modern periodic table, there are 18 vertical columns, we call it as groups, and 7 horizontal rows, we call it as periods. So in a modern periodic table, there are 18 groups and 7 periods. So let us see the arrangement of elements in modern periodic table. The elements are arranged in increasing order of atomic number. The first atomic number is the element hydrogen is arranged on the top of the lithium, that is the first element, and the second element you see on the right hand side, that is the helium. So the elements are arranged in increasing order of atomic number from left to right. Here we have 18 groups, vertical columns, we call it as group, and the first group has some elements, right? First element is hydrogen, second one is lithium, third one is sodium, potassium. Like that the elements are put. In what way these elements are arranged in first group? Here the first group indicates the valence electron. We are very much familiar with valence shell, right? So the electrons present in a valence shell is what we call valence electron. If the valence electron is 1, those elements are put together in the first group. So from the group number we can easily find the valence electron. So the elements which are there in the first group will have valence electron 1. If the elements are in the second group, the elements in second group will have outermost shell or the valence electron 2. The elements which are there in the middle 10 groups, that is starting from third group to 12th group, we will not be studying. 13th group, you see the elements in 13th group, how many valence electrons it will be? It is not a 13, it will be 3. So how can you remember this? You just, when you go to right hand side, you just remove the first digit, the rightmost digit you take it. So in 13, 3 is the rightmost digit, so the outermost shell will have 3, so the valency will be 3. So this way from the group number we can easily find the valency or the number of electrons present in the valence shell. So got it, children? So vertical group, from the group number we can find the valency. Now from the period, what information we will get? Now the first period elements are, one is hydrogen on the left hand side, on the rightmost you can see helium, right? The row number indicates the period. The first period has two elements, they are hydrogen and helium. From the row number or from the period number we can find number of shells. So first period will have elements with only one shell. If the elements are in the second period, then all the elements will have two shells. If you take elements in the third period elements, all the elements in the third period will have three shells. So on the basis of this only the elements are arranged in the modern periodic table. Let us now learn trends in the modern periodic table. Firstly, we will discuss about valency. Now you should know what is valency. Valency means the combining capacity of an element, so which you must have studied in class 9. So valency can be found out by the number of electrons present in a valence shell or the outermost shell, right? If the outermost shell has one electron, then its valency will be 1. If it is 2, then valency will be 2. If it is 3, then it will be 3. If more than 4 is there, then we have to make it to 8, or how many electrons are required to make a stable configuration. So the valency could be identified by means of the combining capacity, or to get a stable configuration, how many electrons need to be lost or how many electrons need to be gained. On the basis of this we can find the valency. So now let us see the valency in the periodic table. Now we know that the first group elements will have the valency 1. So all the elements in a first group will have valency 1. So there will not be any change in valency. Whereas if you go from left to right in the modern periodic table, then you will see increase in valency. All the first group elements will have valency 1, all the second group elements will have valency 2, all the 13th group elements will have valency 3. So this way, when you move from left to right in a modern periodic table or across a period, we can say the valency is increased by 1 by each group, right? Whereas the valency is constant in a group. When you are going in a group top to bottom, there will not be change in the valency. So this is what valency in a group or across a period. The term atomic size indicates the radius of an atom. Now see here, the elements of first group are mentioned here. Then from this you can easily see the radius of the elements, which one has more radius. Now in the first group element, you can see that the first element, that is hydrogen, has only one shell. When you move down a group, across each period a new shell is being added, right? So the radius of elements keep on increasing when you go down a group. So we can say that the atomic size increases when you move top to bottom of a group. Whereas when you move across a period, one thing remains constant, that is the number of shells. But when you move across each group, at each group level a new electron is being added, right, which increases the effective charge. And in each group the number of positive charges also increase, right? As a result of this, the effective nuclear charge held by the nucleus will be more. As a result of this, what happens? The electrons are pulled towards itself. When the electrons are pulled towards the center, then the size of the atom will naturally decrease, or the radius of the atom decrease, right? So when we move across a period, we can say that the atomic radius decreases. Next one is metallic and non-metallic properties. Firstly, we should know what is metallic and a non-metallic property. Metallic property means if an element readily loses electron, then it has more metallic character compared to the other one. Or we can say that if we feel easy to remove an electron from its outermost shell than other element, then the element at which the electrons can be easily pulled off will have more metallic character. So altogether we can say that if an element loses an electron, 1 or 2 electrons easily, then its metallic character will be higher. So on the basis of this information, let us understand the metallic character when we go down a group and when we move across the period. Dear students, when we move down a group, we have to see the electronic configuration. From that you will very much clear what will happen to the metallic character and what could be the reason. Now look at the screen here. The electronic configuration of hydrogen, lithium, sodium, potassium are mentioned here. Here in each atom the nucleus attracts the outermost electron, but the potassium, you see here, the number of shells between the outermost shell and the nucleus are more. The effective nuclear charge held by the nucleus towards the outermost shell is less. Why? Because the outermost shell is far away. If the distance between the outermost shell electron, the electrons present in the outermost shell and the nucleus is more, then the effective nuclear charge will also be decrease, right? As the distance increases, then the nuclear charge, the force of attraction will decrease. As a result of this, the effective nuclear charge felt by the outermost electron will be very less. So it is very easy for us to remove an electron from the outermost shell. So potassium loses an electron very easily as compared to the other elements which are present above the potassium. So we can say that when you go down a group, metallic character increases, right? Now see what happens to the metallic character when we go across the period. Dear students, we know that when we move across the period, at each group a new electron is being added and the number of shells remains same. The effective nuclear charge held by the nucleus will increase as the number of positive charges also increases, right? As a result of this, what will happen? The size of the atom will decrease. Now if you see the periodic table, at each level some of the elements mentioned here, at each level the shell shrinks as a result of the attractive force held by the nucleus. So now the electrons are nearer and nearer at each level. If the electrons are nearer to the nucleus, then we have to apply more and more force, or more energy is required to remove an electron. The ease with which an electron can be removed from the outermost shell will have more metallic character. Here when we move across the period, we have to apply more and more energy. So with less ease we are removing an electron. So the metallic character decreases when we move across the period, or we can say that the non-metallic character increases when we move across the period. Here non-metallic character means if the electrons are pulled from the outermost shell of an atom with less ease, then its non-metallic character will be more. If the electron can be pulled off from the outermost shell with more easily, then it will have more or greater metallic character. I believe you understood today's session, so that's all we have for today. Before concluding this session, I would like to give some easy home assignments which you can practice at home. So here is your home assignment. I believe you will do all these home assignments very easily. See you all on another day. Till then, keep learning. Take good care of yourself.